So welcome everyone. My name is Dale Tomei. I'm the education coordinator for the Hawaii HomeOwnership Center. Thank you for joining us to attend a workshop about selling your home. And I know a lot of our families may have already purchased, and this might hit the exact workshop that they might be looking for on how to prepare to selling their home. But we also have some clients that are looking to purchase maybe a condo or that starter home, and they could pick up some helpful tips uh, from this workshop. And we have a guest speaker. She's been volunteering with the center. Her name is Ali Ban from Redfin, and she's the broker in charge. And she's going to be sharing a lot of helpful information with regards to preparing and selling your home.
Thank you, Dale, and hello, everyone. I'm so glad to be with you today via Zoom and helping you just get some ideas on the process of selling your home. There is quite a lot of preparation that you want to do and work with your agent before you actually take the photos and put it on the market. So we're going to go through all those steps, and I look forward to showing you a little bit more about the process. So when I meet with a would-be seller, the first thing always that I ask is, why are you selling? What is your goal? And there's lots of different reasons. Sometimes it has to do with your family size. Sometimes it has to do with your job. Sometimes it has to do just with what your personal needs are. And in the end, usually it's maybe because your current home is just not going to meet your needs anymore. Then my next question usually is, well, what's your timing look like? Because the reason for your selling is sometimes motivated by what's going on. And you have to understand that it's not an overnight process, and it can take the full thing from when you take the photos, activate the listing, look at offers, go into an escrow. The whole thing at the very shortest time span can be about 2 months, but it can also take up to a year. Hopefully it doesn't take you that long. If you work with a really good realtor, it won't take that long. And depending on the condition of your home, what the market is doing, how much competition you have, how many buyers are out there, it will also vary the timing that it takes. So talking with a realtor about your specific neighborhood, your specific home is going to help you try to foresee how long it could take.
So Ali, I have a question. So like, let's say I'm considering selling my home. Um, would it be that I start working on, preparing my home, or I should talk to a real estate agent right away to at least kind of determine a timeline so I can plan?
That's a really great question, Dale. I love it when a seller approaches me as far in advance as they know. And so we have more time to plan what kind of repairs and renovations might be needed. We also have a little bit more flexibility on timing to come on the market at maybe the best ideal time. But that being said, I also have people calling me when they're ready to go. And when I go to see their house for the first time, it's ready to take photos and we can hit the ground running. So that can be totally varied, but it is a good idea. Your realtor is your partner and in this process. So there's really no too early to start talking to them.
Thank you.
One of the things that's very different about selling your home versus when you're buying your home is there's quite a lot more costs involved. when you bought your home, the biggest cost is always the commissions to the realtors. And that was paid for by the seller. So when you were working with your buyer's agent, they were paid by the seller. Now that you're going to be the one selling, you have to actually cover both your listing agent's commission and the buyer's agent's commission. And that is by far the largest chunk, largest cost involved in selling. It can be between, well, the traditional is 6% of the sales cost, although there are many other structures and brokerages charging different fees. So if you sell too soon from when you bought, or if the home is not in great condition, if for a variety of reasons, when you sell and then you have all of these costs, of course you want to make money. You want to walk away from the sale with a profit. But your realtor is going to be the one, this is one of the most important steps up front, to figure out all of your costs for you, to figure out what your home might sell for, and then understand what you're going to walk away with. On this slide, we have some of the typical seller's costs. Some are for preparing your home to sell. And then there's some costs that are during escrow and at closing. So those costs can be taken out of your proceeds.
And actually, if you're speaking with a real estate agent early, they can help us to determine whether it makes sense or not.
Yes, so I do meet with sellers sometimes where I do calculate the cost, what I expect their home to sell for, and it comes up short that they would actually have to pay money at closing, which we really don't want them to have to do. Normally, my advice at that point is to wait, or maybe we can talk about renovations if it's cost effective to upgrade some portions of the home so that we can sell it for more and then either break even or sell at a profit. We also could talk about renting it out for a short time period, maybe a year or 2 years, until they can make a profit. But a lot of times I will be working with a seller or in touch with a seller for a couple of years before the conditions and timing and the costs, everything lines up. So this is what I was talking about, how the realtor is going to estimate what they can get you for your home. And this is the comparative market analysis, or CMA, will show you a range or an approximation of what your home is worth. There are many factors that go into this. Some of the most important factors are the condition. So since you bought your home, have you invested in any upgrades? Did you change the flooring? Did you redo the bathroom or the kitchen? And that is one thing that adds value. But also another big factor is, what is the market doing? If you live in a particular neighborhood or a particular condo building, your realtor will do market analysis of similar homes or similar units in your neighborhood. And that is going to help determine what you could also sell your home for. Typically, we look at the same period of time that appraisers will look at, which is 6 months. It could be 6 months to 12 months if there hasn't been that many sales in your neighborhood. And they're going to factor in also how much inventory is on the market, because if you come on for sale and there's 5 other units in your building, you may have to sit a little bit longer before you get into contract, versus a really hot seller's market usually is determined by low inventory competitive situation where you might be the only one for sale in your neighborhood, and there's lots of buyers demanding, and then they're going to be, it's going to sell very fast. So part of the analysis that your realtor will do is how long also they predict it will take for your home to sell.
So understanding the market, the real estate agent can help us to understand whether it's a buyer's or seller's market.
Yes. You'll also see, things on the news about, they'll talk about inventory in real estate and if it's a seller's market or if it's slowed down. The realtor who ideally is keeping you in touch with what's happening in your building or in your neighborhood might be the realtor who helped you buy your home. And so there's also lots of other tools. You can subscribe to automated emails from various real estate websites so that you can also see what's happening in your neighborhood or your building. So once your realtor takes a look at the condition of your home and the upgrades that you've done, takes a look at the comps, recent sales in your neighborhood or building, they're going to help you figure out what you're going to walk away with, your net proceeds. All of the costs from selling, which includes the commissions, as we talked before. We have to pay off your mortgage if you have one, and any other, you might have a second mortgage or a home equity line of credit against your home. All of those have to be taken out of your proceeds. And so again, we want to make sure you're going to end up in a positive number so you can walk away with a profit. And that net proceeds number is a very important number for you if you're going to be then turning around and buying your next home, because that could be the cash down that you're going to put for the next home. If you are going to be selling and then buying a new home, you should definitely go through the process of meeting with a loan officer and getting your mortgage qualification or mortgage budget again. This is just like when you first bought your home. One of the first steps is you have to give them all your pay stubs and your 2 years of tax returns, and credit score, all of your assets and your debt. And once again, they're going to calculate how much home you can afford to buy and give you a pre-approval. And this can factor into your decision to sell, because if your net proceeds maybe aren't as much as you had predicted, and your current mortgage qualification might not be as much as you had predicted, maybe you don't want to sell right now because the home that you want to buy, you can't afford. You have to factor all of this in before you decide to sell your house.
And I think you bring up a good point, because I think oftentimes sellers, they're only worried about selling the property. They don't realize that if they qualify for another mortgage, that, if they took up on debt when they were doing renovations prior to selling, that the debt actually impacts their ability to qualify for a mortgage.
Well, one of the biggest things that goes into your mortgage qualification is, have you paid your monthly mortgage bills on time? And so that affects your credit score as well. So it is kind of a very many-step process. Even before before taking the photos and deciding to sell your home, you need to go through these other steps to really make sure that it all makes sense. So maybe you've held your property for quite a long time and you've built up equity. Maybe you've paid down your mortgage, and this may qualify you that you don't have to sell your home in order to buy another home. This is, again, a conversation you need to have with your loan officer, and there may be a chance that you can keep this property and still buy your next property and start amassing wealth with multiple real estate holdings and become a real estate mogul. So definitely, if you've owned your home for quite a while, or you know you have quite a lot of equity, this is a really good conversation to have with your loan officer. So your realtor is really going to be the key person that you start the conversation with. You'll bring in your loan officer to have the other part of the conversation on the future and what you can buy. And so you're going to be, again, working with a team of professionals that are going to be advising you. The realtor that you hire, you want to try to interview maybe 2 or 3 realtors and ask them some questions. Make sure they have experience specifically on listing and selling homes. If you interview an agent and 90% of their transactions is to help buyers, you may think twice about working with that agent because it is a little bit different skill set to sell homes versus help buyers. You can also compare what they charge for commission and what they're going to do for that commission fee. Have them come take a look at your house, give you some advice on how it shows and what they might recommend that you do before taking photos. And it's free advice, so you can interview 2 or 3 agents, see if the price that they give for your home, the value is similar. If you don't agree with the first realtor's valuation, you might make another meeting with a second realtor. If that second realtor is the same number as the first, but it's different from your number, maybe you have to rethink your number of what you value your home for. So now you've met with your realtor, you've met with your loan officer, and you have your plan. You've decided it is going to be in your best interest to sell. The hard work is coming now of preparing your home. And the number one thing that you can do to get your home ready is to declutter and clean. These 2 things actually don't cost that much, but it will make the biggest impact. So we all have way too much stuff sitting around. And so you're going to want to pare down, and you're going to be moving anyway. So it's going to help you with an easier move, the less stuff that you have. You can put things in storage just to make your home appear less cluttered. And then right before your photos, right before all the people come to see your home, you're going to want to invest in a good professional deep cleaning. Your realtor can also advise you on if you should spend some money to spruce up your home. There's some easier, less expensive things you can do. For example, paint. That's very inexpensive and it can really make your home pop, look fresh. Flooring changes are relatively easy. Maybe depending on your budget, carpet is of course the cheapest option for new flooring, but it can also be a great way to just update your home instantly. Smaller things like lighting, plumbing fixtures, changing a ceiling fan, and then doing some landscaping if you have a single family home for curb appeal. And these are all conversations you can have with your realtor. And here's some before and after pictures. We're going to just scroll through, and I don't have to talk. You can see pictures are showing you how much of a difference it can make.
Do you have any suggestions with regards to paint as far as, what has the most appeal to most buyers when you're planning to show your property?
So paint trends come and go. There's always at the end of the year, they announce, oh, these are the popular paint colors of this coming year. And those can be very trendy. Most of the time when I advise my sellers, I say, just go neutral. You want your home, as far as the paint color, not to have too much personality because everybody's very different in what tone and colors they like. And if you have too much of a bold color that may just not be that taste of that buyer, it's kind of an emotional, psychological X against you already up front. When I'm on the buyer's agent side and I tour a home and it has a really ugly paint color, I'll tell the buyer, hey, that's really easy for you to fix. To try to look past that paint color. But if they don't have to look past that paint color, if it's just already neutral and they can visualize themselves the color they would like, you're really already in a plus.
Having personality in a color, does that also impact your ability to show photos online before people even start looking at the property?
Definitely the photos online are the first impression. Everybody starts their searches online now. So you want your photos to pop in a good way. So if the paint color is not to everybody's taste, for just a silly reason like that, a buyer might move on to the next home. You want for the best chances to sell your home for the most price. You want to attract as many buyers as possible, first online, then the pictures will get them to come see your home in person. And then the more people that see it, well, hopefully you'll get more offers. Here's some cleaning that needs to happen in that light fixture. This one, I think they painted the blades, right? This is
Yes.
another really inexpensive, easy fix. Or just totally modernizing the style of the fan. On the left, that's obviously a 20-year-old ceiling fan.
And I think that's the only thing that they changed. Everything else looks kind of the same.
Right.
The baseboards, the flooring.
So with window fixtures, obviously these drapes are pretty old, worn, torn, and maybe out of date. In a case where my seller doesn't have the funds to fix or replace them, I think sometimes it's better to just have nothing than something that's worn and old and dirty. So again, you can consult with your realtor on your particular home and what would be best.
And actually, that's a good idea because yeah, if the drapes are really worn or stained, and you can't replace them, or don't want to replace them, maybe just taking them down, so it doesn't become such an eyesore. Plus, it lets more light in.
This is something that is amazing. It costs about $500 to $1,000, depending if you just do the tub or you also do the tile surrounds. But they paint over the old tub and tile, and it looks shiny brand new. It's called reglazing. There's many people who do it here on the island, and it just takes one day. It instantly makes your bathroom look fresh and new.
Yeah, the one on the right really looks brand new.
Yes. So as we said, the photography is the first impression online that buyers are going to see of your home. But it's also a window into your home. And you want to make sure that your privacy and personal things are kept to a minimum, because it depends on how private a person you are. But we don't want people to be looking at your photos and thinking about you and your family. We want them to be looking at a neutral home and thinking, placing themselves and their family in your home to buy it. So some other tricks on photo day, and again, your photographer, hopefully it's a professional photographer that your realtor is hiring, will do some of these things as far as turning on all the lights and minimizing the clutter, adding flowers or bright colors like pillows, towels. And so those are things that you can also try to do in preparation before your photo day. And then with your listing activation, your realtor will give you a calendar. So once you take the photos, how many days between then and when you activate the listing? And then when are showings going to start? When are you going to have open houses? They'll also talk to you about your schedule and what's going to be the best time for having people to come by. They can control to a certain degree when you show your home. So they'll try to work with you. Keep in mind though, if you're too narrow in when you are giving your realtor ability to show your home, there's going to be less showings. And especially the first week on market, you really want to have as wide availability as possible so that the most number of buyers can come see the home. But have a conversation with your realtor on how you'd like to handle showings and open houses. They may ask to put a lockbox on your property, and you can also talk about, will your agent be there for every showing, or will the buyer's realtor be using the lockbox so that they can access your home? And it's very secure. Every licensed realtor, whether they're a seller or buyer's agent, they have a code of ethics, and they'll be very responsible for respecting your home when they come see it. There's paperwork that you're going to have to do, the listing agreement, the seller's disclosure, and the property details form. Those are, again, conversation and cooperation with your realtor. So here is something that could become a controversial topic. Is your realtor has a price in mind that is going to help you sell your home and get the most for your home, but that it's not going to be sitting on the market too long, and it's going to get you to your goal. Remember when you were buying and searching, looking for homes, and you got to know the more homes you go out and see in a particular building or particular neighborhood, you kind of got to know what's the going rate for this neighborhood. And when there was a listing that was way too high or way too low, you knew, just because you're a buyer, you're doing your research. And now you're in the other side and you're the seller. Remember how you felt about the seller who was overpriced? And remember how you felt about the seller who was right on in the price, plus their home looked amazing. Everybody wanted that house. So have a real conversation with your realtor and be open to what they're advising you. Make sure they explain why their price is their price. Help them, get them to show you the comps, and make sure you understand the strategy and the reasoning behind the price. There's a few other things that the realtor is going to be working with you paperwork wise. either before listing or during escrow, title report, looking for any liens against the property, and then the land survey, whether you had any upgrades or renovations that needed building permits or HOA approvals. And they're also going to just make sure that you're up to date on your mortgage payments and your HOA fees. This is just due diligence that your realtor is going to be doing, and do not feel offended if they ask you, are you current on your mortgage? We just need to make sure that you are. Otherwise, it may affect your bottom line at the end, and we want to be helping you. The seller's disclosure form is a 5-page questionnaire. Only the seller can fill it out. So your realtor is going to give you this blank form. It's going to take you a good 30 minutes to maybe even an hour to fill it out. And although the agent can't fill it out for you, they can help you if you don't understand a question or a terminology. It is very important that you be honest and that you disclose anything that is a material fact. The definition of a material fact is something that changes the value of your home, either for the better or for the worse. If you do not disclose something that's a material fact and you sell your home, then later on the buyer finds out that you held out that information. You could be opening yourself up to a lawsuit if, for example, it devalues your home. So something like a flood or a leak or issue with neighbor or noise, and some of those negative types of things, you definitely want to disclose it. There's always a good way to disclose things that are negative, and your realtor can help you be honest, but put it in the hopefully best light. A few tips when you do have showings and open houses. Your realtor will ask you not to leave home, and that is very important that the buyer sees your home without any distraction. And of course, if you have pets, you'll need to take them out. And again, it doesn't have to be as perfect and beautiful for the photo day, but you definitely want to show your home in the best possible light for showings. After your showings or an open house, hopefully your realtor will be giving you feedback. If they don't, you can ask. You can find out how many people came, but then out of those people that came, how many were actually serious buyers. A lot of times, the nosy neighbors and the casual buyers who aren't quite ready to buy come to open house, but they're not the serious buyers that we're looking for. And then ask for feedback. What did people say about your house? Was it good? Was it not so good? And when you do listen to that feedback, you have to try not to take it personally. And you have to also see if there's anything that you can change or in your control about the feedback. Sometimes it's out of your control. Maybe your home is on a busy road, so there's some street noise. You can't really change that, but you can take in that feedback and understand, okay, maybe not every buyer is going to love my home, even though the inside and everything is great, the street noise is an issue for them. So it just helps for you to understand why buyers might be passing on your house or holding off. Don't try not to be offended, and just work again. It's communication with your agent. And again, at the very beginning, when you're preparing with your realtor, he or she would have hopefully told you, projected days on market. How long do they expect homes in your neighborhood are usually selling within 1 week, within 1 month. It may take 6 months. It depends on the condition. It depends on the price. It depends on how many other homes there are for sale. So if you're in a slower market, please don't panic. Remember the projection that your realtor had told you at the beginning, and just be patient. Your buyer is going to come. When you do get an offer, that's an exciting phone call. Hopefully it's a good offer. And your agent will give you a little bit of explanation on the price and terms of each offer. Remember that the offer contract is kind of a fill-in-the-blank form. So most all of the offers you receive will have the same exact structure, but the numbers that they fill in are going to be a little bit different. These days on Oahu, they only give you 1 to 3 days to respond. So offers can come at any time. You want to be just ready to take that phone call and start reviewing the offer with your agent. If the price is a little lower than you hoped for, again, try not to be offended. Remember, when you were the buyer, you probably tried to get a little bit less, right? So that's just a normal buyer, how they act. If it's super low, then maybe there's reasons why, and you have to talk with your realtor. Maybe your realtor can talk to the other realtor and figure out why they came up with this price. But again, try not to take it personally, and listen to your realtor. Is this even worth engaging with if it's too low? But if it's just a little bit lower than you were thinking, maybe you can counter and see if you can meet in the middle. Again, you might have multiple offers in a hot market, and that's really wonderful. You can choose the best price and terms, and maybe even have a little bit more confidence in countering for a little bit higher or better terms. If you haven't had any offers and finally you get an offer and it's fairly workable, remember that saying, a bird in the hand is worth two in the bush. You don't know when the next offer might come. Depending on your situation, you might be more in an urgent hurry, or you can afford to wait. Again, that's going to be a conversation with your realtor. So your responses as a seller for each offer are: you can accept, you can counter, or reject. And the goals that you have, your timing goals, your pricing goals. Remember that conversation at the very beginning with your realtor. Why are you selling? Those points are all going to come up again. So discuss the offer and what works for you, what doesn't work for you, and your realtor can counter accordingly. And then hopefully your counter offer will go to the buyers and they will accept it. Or they might counter back, or they might walk away. So this is so many variations of the negotiating table and so many strategies that your realtor will walk you through. When you do accept an offer, it is a great time. It's exciting. High five, congratulations. However, it's just the beginning. And you have a 4 to 6 week escrow to get through. And there are quite a few hurdles, we call them contingencies, that the buyer is going to go through. And for you as a seller, it's a little bit nerve-wracking, and it's a time of waiting and hoping and praying that the buyer continues to move forward in escrow. So remember, when you were a buyer, you had the first contingency is usually the home inspection, and that can be maybe the first 1 to 2 weeks of your escrow. This is by far where most buyers, if they are going to cancel or try to renegotiate something, this is when it happens. They're going to hire a home inspection and they're going to get a 100-page report about all the things wrong with your home. You may not get a copy of it. You might get a few pages of some of the things they found. Again, just try not to get too emotional or personal. No house is perfect. So the buyer may try to request a repair or a credit at closing. If it's something really unexpected or a large cost item, they might negotiate the price again or just flat out cancel. So I always ask my sellers not to make any big plans to move or do the next thing until we clear this first 2-week period, because you just don't know how the buyer will handle the home inspection. The next part of after the home inspection is the appraisal. And again, that is possibly another negotiation point, especially if you're in a hot market, you had lots of offers and people were bidding maybe over your list price and you're at a very, very high sales price. The appraisal may not come in at that price. So if it's lower, there may be another negotiation. The contract that we use here in Hawaii is extremely pro-buyer. It's extremely protecting the rights of the buyer. But if you persevere and your buyer is motivated and you get towards the end of your escrow, all the contingencies have been cleared. Usually the last contingencies are the financing or the loan approval. But within usually 2 weeks before your closing date, you're going to get kind of the green light, all clear that the buyer is going to close. And that's really when, I mean, you'll have more notice maybe previous to that. But this is when you really need to start working on clearing out your home, doing the final cleaning, and then signing your closing paperwork. And on the closing day, you turn over the keys and you get a ton of money. Obviously, we've really simplified the selling process here in this class. It's just to give you an overview. If I can say one thing to remember about it is it really has a lot of upfront planning, even before you decide to sell, before you take the photos and list your home. There needs to be a lot of talk with your realtor, talk with your loan officer, and really, really make sure you're selling in the best possible time and results that you need for you and your family. The market is shifting and changing all the time, and outside factors like pandemics happen that can change things. So it's really good to keep in touch with a realtor that you trust. Even when you're not thinking about selling yet, it's something that you can always check in with them and say, hey, what's my house worth right now? And even if you're happy there, you can just kind of keep tabs with how your value is growing, hopefully. And then when the time comes that you're ready to sell, you have your trusted partner and your realtor to get you to your goals. So thank you so much for watching this class, and happy selling.
Thank you, Ali. I think you brought up a ton of information that oftentimes, kind of goes overlooked. I think as a seller, oftentimes we're just thinking about selling the property, but I think it really hits home the fact that we need to talk to a real estate professional early on so that we can start planning the best way that we can present our homes when we actually put it on the market. So, whether it's making those, simple fixes or cleaning up or decluttering, I think we can get the most impact when we actually list our property. So I think, yes, I think we should be talking to an agent early on so that we can start preparing just like when we're looking to purchase our home. And again, thank you very much for sharing your experience as well as your knowledge about listing our properties. And if anyone has questions with regards to any of the information provided in this workshop, we can actually forward that information to Ali and help you get connected. So again, thanks, Ali. Wonderful workshop, and I think it'll provide our members a lot of good information about selling their property.
Thank you, Dale. Thank you, everyone.